There it is. All right. So first, let me start by thanking all the attendees. We appreciate you joining the NCCER Strategies for Success. Today, we're going to talk about building post-secondary construction programs, and we are fortunate enough to have two colleges here with us that have done just that. As you all know, I know everyone's heard this before, but I'm going to say it again. You know, the construction industry is at a critical state of not having enough skilled craft professionals to build the homes, the commercial buildings, the highways, the industrial, infrastructure projects that we all rely on every day. And these two institutions have developed programs that are putting a dent in that shortage. And so without too much, further ado, I want to take a chance and let them introduce themselves. Dr. Webb, let's start with you.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's really a great opportunity to be here and share with you what we're doing at Dallas College and how our partnership actually works with NCCER. I have been with Dallas College over the last 14 years, and in that amount of time, I have worked with economic development, continuing education, workforce, job training, professional development, etc. And I came here from a corporate background at AT&T. However, since being here, we have really moved along that continuum of workforce and workforce improvement so that it reflects the economy, and we produce students who can also contribute to the economy in Texas. Right now, my current role is Senior Director, Special Projects and Special Initiatives, which include the prison population, reentry, and also I am the sponsor for NCCER and all things constructive at Dallas College. So just to give a little bit of background about Dallas College, we're the largest community college in Texas. And we just, during the pandemic, went through a reorganization in which we created a career-connected learning area. And that's the area in which I work under the umbrella of workforce and advancement. So we have several training locations. We have 4 NCCER training centers across the city or the county. And we are trying to grow by leaps and bounds how many students we can connect to NCCER, produce credentials, and keep the program moving forward. I'll speak a little bit later about how this affects the state of Texas, the governor's office, the coordinating board, which kind of is over workforce for Texas. So with that, James, I think that's just a quick, brief introduction of what I do.
Perfect. Thank you. Alan, let's move to you.
Sure. I'm Alan Smith. I'm the Dean of Workforce Development at Gadsden State Community College. Our division is responsible for the education in career technical or in non-credit workforce training for a 5-county service area in Northeast Alabama. Also, I'm responsible for adult education, and we have aligned our curriculum so that we are embedding workforce credentials in most every program that we have. The NCCER credentials are aligned in all of our construction programs. We have a building construction program, welding programs, electrical, and HVAC, but we also offer some certifications with NCCER core embedded into some of our other courses as well. I have a very long history in the construction industry. I began as a house framer many years ago and went on to own a residential construction business for a number of years. And then I began my career as a high school educator and was an NCCER craft trainer. As we're moving forward with Gadsden State, as we look for the workforce credentials and how we're embedded in that, we're always looking to offer more credentials, and NCCER is a perfect opportunity for us to do that. I'm also on the Alabama Governor's Committee of Credentialing and Career Pathways and the Architecture and Construction Committee, where we consider job skills and look at the valuable credentials that can be gained, in all areas of construction through the NCCER credentials.
All right, Wesley?
I'm Wesley Beecham. I'm at Gadsden State Community College. I'm the electrical technology instructor on the campus here at our Ayers campus. We've been doing NCCER since I've been here and before I got here, but I've come up in the trade with NCCER as an apprentice in the electrical field. The company I worked for back in 2002 went through the apprenticeship program, and NCCER developed and grew me as an apprentice and turned me into an electrician and then a teacher. I started teaching the apprenticeship program for them. Went to the high school level and taught at high school level for 5 years with the NCCER curriculum, and then was brought on board to the community college level about 5 years ago and continuing the instruction path here.
Very nice. So you are a product of an NCCER training institution and now deliver NCCER instruction. That's very interesting.
Yes, sir.
All right, so that was the easy part for the panelists. Now we're going to get down into the questions. So let's start with Dr. Webb. Dr. Webb, tell us a little bit about your construction education program and what sets you apart from other community colleges.
For us at Dallas College, we offer NCCER across the board, our certifications across the board. And that means on our academic side, to our dual credit students, to our regularly enrolled students, we embed it into our construction curriculum. And then on the continuing education side, we also train in NCCER certification, basically with the core and electrical. We also have HVAC, and then we have many partnerships that and I know we might have another question coming up on partnerships, but this is a key time to address that. Our overall purpose at Dallas College is to be a vibrant and growing, economically viable for the future generations. So with that, we have also grants on the continuing education side. We have a workforce education grant, adult education literacy, that we work on with the Texas Department of Workforce. And we've done that for about 8 years. So we make our NCCER program free to those that are in underserved communities, those who cannot afford it, and reference of folks who have been laid off from the workforce board. So in that, all of their tuition is free, the books are free, and all of that. And on average, we have community partners where we do at least 10 to 12 programs a year, just like this, that are free to students. We also do re-entry training. We also do the prison education program where we utilize NCCER certification there. So we have a gamut of what we do with NCCER and plans to grow that. We also embed this into what Texas calls a 60 by 30 program that came out a few years ago. And that is by the year 2030, we intend to have at least 60% of all Texas residents ages 18 to 34 with a credential or some type of job. So NCCER really helps us in that way as a respectable national organization where we can do that and get them jobs. So those are a few of the things that sets us apart. And then we have partnerships with Texas Department of Criminal Justice, where we train heavy equipment operation. And right now we're the first and only in the state to do that. And Texas Department of Transportation is now starting that in Fort Worth in South Texas. So those are just a few things, not to continue and be long with that, but those are just a few things that stand us apart in our use of NCCER at Dallas College.
No, that's amazing. Alan, I'm going to ask you the same question. What do you feel sets your construction programs apart from other colleges?
Well, we do embed quite a few of the NCCER within our credit courses, but we also, one thing that we've started doing is partnering with local high schools so that we can actually articulate the NCCER, because we've embedded that into some of our 4 credit classes. We utilize those and we're able to offer that. And so students can seamlessly continue from, for instance, a core and a level 1, where on into the community college where we can pick up at level 2. And our goal in some of our programs is to continue on to level 4. But we're also working with some non-credit entities to put the NCCER courses out there, so we can also articulate that training as well. Some of the things that we have in place and in for the future is also utilizing the credential in some of our and recognizing it for the NCCER core in particular in some of the courses that may offer construction training in some areas, but might land someone in a job that may eventually be in the manufacturing sector. But because the credentials are there and because it's easily recognized, we feel like this is a good credential to offer to the students and embed those in the courses as well, because there is, within the core, there is quite a bit of instructional information and topics that are relevant to the students in those areas.
Outstanding. Wesley, I'd love to give you an opportunity to add anything if you'd like.
We like to go out into the industry and listen to them and bring the NCCER, show them that what you guys want in the industry, NCCER has us to teach. And that kind of builds the program and gets us set apart because we got something to back what we're teaching. We can show that we taught them something from the NCCER side.
Yeah, very important too. So you guys are moving ahead of me on my questions, but you guys have all touched on partnerships, which leads me to my next question. Could you elaborate a little bit? And Alan, let's start with you. And I definitely want to get back to Dr. Webb and her free tuition with her partnership. I think that's a very key element. But Alan, could you tell us a little bit more about your partners, how those relationships were built, how that network, came about, and how it's affected the success of the college program?
Yes, within our programs, we have advisory committees, and from those advisory committees are natural partnerships as within the different construction sectors, employers look to hire our students. But as Wesley said, we're in a phase now where we're actually engaging employers that might not be as familiar with NCCER, going back to 2012, 2014, along in those years when NCCER first became, a known entity in the state of Alabama. There's many of those employers that are, we're still finding that we're taking the credential piece and the topics that we're covering in that and educating them as to how we can do that and how that can make them good employees. And we're going beyond waiting for students to graduate. We're putting work-based learning components in just about every program that we have so that students can work part-time in field and attend and take classes with our college part-time in field. And as Wesley mentioned, he is engaged in that, and he has a significant industry contacts in our area because we're in a concentrated 5-county area of Northeast Alabama. Myself, our instructors, and others that are involved in workforce development at Gadsden State are extremely engaging to our local industry, and it's created a good network. I think the fact that Gadsden State has been training and doing a very good job providing instruction at a high level of integrity for years has benefited our ability to, send a good quality product out to the students. And the NCCER credentials that they have now are something that is provable, something that is standardized, and it makes it a very, very good dynamic.
Outstanding. Wesley, would you like to add anything?
Piggybacking off him, when the industry partners come and show up, they're told by every school that this is what we teach. When they get here, we can show them, here's the hands-on we teach, and we have the checklist to go by that NCCER has us, and it provides a greater draw for a partnership. So when we go and get these partners, they're looking at our stuff and they're going, you guys are teaching what we need to teach. And then anything that's not on our list, we offer them to let us know, and we add it to the curriculum. And the partnership from that is huge. They draws them in, gets them interested, and then from there they send guys here just to get a upskill training sometimes as well.
Yeah, I think that's important, that buy-in from your partners, not just, they're advising you to do things, but when you actually give them buy-in and actually change the program or add to the program to meet the need that they have, I think, makes them have a little bit of ownership of the program, which is exactly what you want in a good partner. So. All right, Dr. Webb, let's hear more about your partners and how they lead to the success of Dallas College.
We, I guess, are in a unique position since we created the Career Connected Learning Division a few years ago. We partner with community nonprofit organizations because I'm over the NCCER as a sponsor for the college, and then I'm also over the reentry program. So a lot of our partners come through reentry and our partnerships with a lot of the prisons in the area. But we have these nonprofit organizations. One is called Regional Black Contractors Association, which they do construction and they have construction members and all of that. But they're the first who came to us wanting to partner, and this was part of the pandemic, to partner with us on construction training for reentry persons. And so that kicked off very well. So we've been consistently going before COVID. We picked up in 2020 after COVID. And every 5 weeks, we have a class with recruits that they bring to us. And we pay for that also through the Adult Education Literacy Grant, which provides for payment for credentialing. And so every 5 weeks, they come through. And a good thing about these partnerships that I'm talking about now, the workforce grant allows us to not only do the technical training, which is the NCCER training in core construction, electrical, and HVAC, but it allows us also to add job readiness, because one of the biggest things we hear from our business partners is that we need those soft skills. Yeah, you're giving us the technical, but we need the soft skills. So it is a requirement of the Adult Education Literacy Grant, which we internally call Work Ready You. We branded it inside for Dallas College, but it's imperative that we marry in the job readiness. And they have about 48 hours of job readiness mixed in, college hours mixed in with the training that we provide with NCCER and some other training we put in there. So that's the Regional Black Contractors Association. We also have another organization called OASIS, and they are purely in the job readiness piece. So we partner with them because they have the skill for reentry training, and we bring them in for that piece. And then we just started a contract with Dallas Leadership Foundation, and they're nationwide, but they have an organization in Dallas. And we started a class last week for core and electrical. And that class is going on right now. And it's so far going well. We have recruited 11 students as a pilot for that program, and we're paying for them for free with the same grant program. And then the TechStop program that I mentioned, that one's involved with work-based learning. And the way that partnerships works, and we're going into our third year with that one, but the way that works, and it's very unique, and that's, I think, what brought me to the table with NCCER's interest in that program, and that is that TxDOT, Texas Department of Transportation, has a contract with the Department of Transportation nationally. And so they have a grant, and we are the first partner, as I mentioned, and they recruit along with Lone Star Justice Alliance, which is out of Austin, and that this is reentry as well. They recruit, we partner with them to do the training through NCCER heavy equipment operation certification, and of course CORE. And then the vendors who have projects and roads and bridges projects from TxDOT then hire them while they're in class. So they go to class 2 days, 3 days a week, and they're on job sites 2 days a week after the first 2 weeks of incorporation into the program. So we also have a apprentice program, work-based learning that we've set up since 2020 to make this career-connected learning department that we have one big unit that serves all.
Very impressive, and definitely obvious that both these colleges have some of the same initiatives going, like work-based learning and partnership and strong partnerships and things like that. So to carry on with the momentum of partnerships, you all have a partnership with NCCER. Could you guys talk a little bit about how NCCER's accreditation, curriculum, credentials helps add to the program?
Would you like me to start, or?
Let's start with Wesley this time. I think.
Okay.
NCCR has given my program a great construction-based curriculum because it's got a rigorous aspect to it. It's wrote by somebody that's come out of the field or worked in the field. It's world-like experience versus some textbooks that they're just kind of wrote by somebody in a classroom anyway. So with NCCR, we've got this real-world text that's rigorous and that makes the students step up their game a little bit and actually learn and want to learn. And with the hands-on brought in with the real-world experience also brings in the aspect of it. So it makes the teachers step up their game a little bit as well, because we've got to teach a little more rigorous. We're not making the test passable. We're using a good test that is wrote by somebody else. And, we got to cover the curriculum correctly.
Outstanding. Dr. Webb?
For us, we have, I guess the state of Texas has adopted as well NCCER, because a lot of the grants that we get, and they're called Field Fund Development Grants from the state of Texas, is another type that is just catered toward corporations and businesses that we pull together and train their employees. So with those kinds of grants come a request if we're doing construction for NCCER. It's in the state. The tech side came to us wanting NCCER because they're aware of the branding of NCCER. And then one of my specific goals that I was given last month at the beginning of this school year was to expand the brand of the NCCER across Dallas College. And hence, that's why we started the electrical program that I talked about a little bit earlier. And I am targeted to start more of NCCER's programs this year. We also do them within our dual credit program. We have one of the largest dual credit programs with Dallas Independent School District. And so those instructors that teach on the credit side in the high school dual credit program also fall under my sponsorship of NCCER. And so we have that impact of NCCER, the curriculum, the assessments are very well respected in the state of Texas and Dallas County, as I just described, and through the nonprofit organizations too. They come to us wanting that. I was in a meeting in Huntsville, Texas, which is the main location for the Texas Department of Criminal Justice last week. And I found out that Wyndham High School, which is in the prisons, they have a high school within the prison system in Texas. They're already doing NCCER when I asked, can we bring that in as we grow the partnership? So she said, no, we're already doing that with those within the high school. So what I'm going to do, I'm working on, is contracting with them to build on the electrical piece. Since they already have the core, I can build on the plumbing or the electrical piece to that. So that's what we're working on as far as the contract right now. So basically, in summation, the NCCER assessments, the NCCER curriculum is ideal for us to pull into our curriculum. And there's something called the Coordinating Board in Texas that approves all CTE and workforce courses. So I have become a pro at marrying in NCCER modules to that curriculum.
Yeah, that's interesting. So not only do you have a large partnership network, but it sounds like NCCER has facilitated some new partnerships for you. So that's very interesting.
Oh, definitely. NCCER is a staple. And I'll say this, there's a very large organization that we worked with before Dallas College became NCCER certified or accredited. And we still work with them on some of the projects that I mentioned with some larger companies. And that is, everybody knows, Construction Education Foundation. So I just want to put a shout out there because they're core with whom we work as well.
Very good, very good. So Alan, Wesley talked a little bit on the programmatic side and the benefits of NCCER. Could you speak a little bit to the academic side and the benefits to having NCCER as a partner?
Yes, for one, I appreciate the standardization of the curriculum, the instructional integrity, the instructional validity. As I stated earlier, earlier in my career was an instructor in NCCER, so I understand what all and can appreciate what all goes into training. As Wesley said, it causes the students to step up the game. I think it also provides an oversight as you start with core and then progress through level 1, 2. It provides an oversight to the industry that is beneficial to a student and helps them to consider the career as a whole. If you just think about the communication skills within core and some of the things even that you might not use in core, if you go in a different area where you're around, rigging for crane and in commercial environments and everything. Here in North Alabama, you might choose to go in a more of a residential path, but it's going to make your transition throughout different areas of your career easier, I guess, as you move forward. So I can appreciate that instructional soundness as an administrator as I embed the NCCER within the courses. Also, as Dr. Webb has the partnerships with non-credit, we're beginning to see quite a bit of recognition within the state of Alabama as the NCCER credentials are things that we now are putting into grants that we write for. We've just recently submitted for and very helpful. We're going to receive 2 grants where we're going to be partnering and receiving money for training, and NCCER is the credential that we're using for some non-credit construction training. So that has provided something very stable here in Alabama as far as construction education. It's been a game changer, and it's trending and moving forward to do great things here in our service area as well.
Okay. Well, so we have talked about many different, pieces of the puzzle, right? We've talked about many different things that make a great construction education program. But I think we can all agree that where the rubber meets the road is with the students, right? The students going through the program, and then of course the students coming out of the program. So with that, Dr. Webb, would you tell us a little bit about the, career readiness of your students upon graduation?
Sure. To do that, I'm going to go back a little bit in how we look at opportunities for the student before we even, put them into one of the programs. We try to make sure there's opportunity out there for the jobs that we are going to begin to train them on in the technical field. So we make sure that there is a clear pathway to high demand jobs. We have a labor market intelligence office that before we start any new program, whether it involves NCCER or not, we have to send a request form through them so that they can give us the data, labor market data, on where the future of those jobs lie and what the pay is, and make sure that they have a livable wage income in that field. And we also work with, since it doesn't sound like a community college, but since we reorged through the pandemic, we now have schools of. So I work with the School of MIT, which involves the construction industry, the manufacturing industry, heavy equipment operation, electrical, all of that. So I do work directly with them too, to ensure that we put together a curriculum which involves NCCER for the success of the students in the career that they may enter. So we know that the construction industry is wide open, whether it's in the commercial, residential, bridges, roads, highways, or whatever. So that's basically how we set the readiness for the students. And then we also incorporate in there the job readiness that I talked about, interviewing school, skill, teamwork, how to work as a partner with others. Because that was one of the biggest complaints 2 or 3 years ago we were getting from companies that we would train for. So we prepare them in all these different ways and opportunity to know that once they complete that card from NCCER, and I say this at almost every graduation we have, because we have a graduation for each group no matter what. But I always say that card can take you far. whether you stay in Dallas County or whether you go nationally. Just, you know, you've completed, you're successful, and that card is very important along with other credentials that you might have.
That's a great message. Alan, could you speak a little bit about student success in your programs?
Yes, we have, quite a bit of students that leave our programs immediately. We have high wage, high demand occupations here in our area where students start out 300% above the poverty level, entry level jobs coming out with the certifications they have. These jobs are sustainable, and every one of our programs, from our building construction program, our electrical programs, welding, HVAC, the thing that concerns me most about student employment is the student might leave a little early and not complete the program. That's something that we guard against because the demand is so high for the students as they're trained. So we have student success in vast numbers, but when you drill down and look at the life-changing aspects that many of our students that come through construction that wind up, with short-term certifications, completely going from, entry-level employment in a food service industry or some type of service industry, doubling their earning capacity, just in 6 to 9 months with some of these short-term certificates, doubling and tripling that earning capacity and having an established career. We have many of those stories on our different campuses where we serve students. That's the reason, that's the thing that excites me, daily is, yes, numbers are great and we do have those numbers, but seeing how the training that we can get impacts the lives. And I think probably all of us have many stories about student success we can relate to. From my days as a high school instructor, I used to tell my students that, the skills that I teach you, the skills that I taught as in building construction may seem basic, but there is not a county in our state where you could not apply your skills that you'll learn here and the integrity and the soft skills that you can learn through the curriculum and go, become a millionaire. The potential is out there. So we kind of foster that spirit within our students here at the Gadsden State, and the NCCER helps us to prepare them to be successful as they pursue their careers.
That's a great point. I think at the end of the day, that's why we all do what we do, in this space, right? Is for that student success story, and the lives that we are all actively changing. I know that is a big driving force here at NCCER. Wesley, I'm gonna put you on the spot just a bit here. I have a background in community college construction training programs, and I've seen a lot of different programs, in my time, and I know that there's always a bit of shock factor going from a formalized training program to actually getting, on the job site and doing the job that you trained for so long to do. Can you kind of tell us how your programs mitigate that shock factor with the students?
Yes, we use a simulated workplace based training here. So everything I have set up in my program is simulated from a workspace. I don't have motor control places. I have motor control cabinets that are hooked together with motors, and we simulate everything. So we take the NCCER curriculum and we add in a simulated workplace with that and kind of work it in where what they would see in the factory or what they would see building a house or even running conduit through a building, they see that here. So I have a pipe rack that starts on one side of my classroom and goes all the way to the other, and they have to build that pipe rack from the foundation up and then pull the wire through it and then pull it back out and try it again and tell me why it didn't go good and why it did. They're reading the tape measure from the get-go. Everything they would do on the job site, they're having to do here because it simulates it so close. And we ask industry, and they've donated old equipment, things that we wouldn't see without going into some of the older factories. So we have old switch gear from the 50s here, elevator motors, for random stuff that really gives them a on-the-job experience feel in the classroom.
That's amazing. I think that's really important, to student success. So we're going to shift gears just a little bit here, and as everyone on the call probably knows, research shows that community college enrollment has declined over the last few years. And however, construction education programs are a massive, incline at colleges. So what I want to ask is, and I'll start with Alan. Alan, how has your program seen program enrollment growth with your construction program?
So our technical programs at our college have a straight line growth pattern of 8% over the past 4 years. Our construction programs are higher than that. We've seen quite a bit of enrollment increase in all of our construction programs in the past 4 years. That's kind of a pre-pandemic, and we've looked at the data coming out of the pandemic, and we've recovered and we are seeing that. The causes and the reasons, I think, could be because we have expanded our training opportunities to go into high schools. NCCER, as I said earlier, has been a key component in doing that as we reach out to the high school career tech centers, provide that training. What we did at once with articulation agreements, we can now actually look at providing students with dual enrollment credit. We think that really helps them to come on and complete. We found our statistics when we did some studies on our college about 3 years ago that if we can get students to complete 4 dual enrollment courses by the time they graduate high school, they'll actually complete with some type of certificate at our college 3 times as fast in half the amount of time. So it's really something that is a game changer, and that could be a reason we've seen the enrollment go up. There's many factors that go along with that, but our trend is definitely positive in terms of our enrollment all across the board in our career tech programs and our non-credit workforce training programs.
Very nice. Dr. Webb, how about you? Could you speak to the enrollment growth at Dallas College?
Yeah, and what you stated as an introduction to this part of the webinar is true. College enrollment has been down since the pandemic, just like workforce opportunities are out there, and there were no people to fill the jobs, from fast food to other jobs. But I think that's turning around right now, going into a couple of years after the pandemic, where folks are interested in jobs. And then the other factor within that, whether it's machining, manufacturing, or construction, many workers in those fields have retired over the last few years. So it brings on a new interest by companies to recruit for that, by people to want to have jobs in that. We also focus on those students that may be in our dual credit program, kind of like Alan mentioned, where they can get a degree. And we have many who graduated 2 years with their high school diploma and a level 1 certificate in construction or electrical or whatever. So with that being said, I think there's just an overall interest because the economy is there, the workforce environment is there to pull on that interest. But outside of the dual credit program, we have some other high schools. One is Texas Can Academy that has students that don't go to regular high school and they want to go into a certain job. So we partner with them as well to get those students into an industry where they can get a job without college. And I remember our chancellor saying once that now students can go into pipe fitting and welding and construction and all of that and make more money than they would have for a college degree. But it takes some convincing of the parents for that. But, when you deal with those students that are grassroots, maybe can't afford to go to college, it's a stepping stone. And then we have another partnership between credit and CE, which is called True Pathways. And it's a state initiative for community colleges where they can start a program and maybe get a certification in electrical, but then there's a pathway to go on through credit. And they can use like prior learning and those kind of things can be incorporated in it. But this one specifically is we try to interest the student for growth in the construction studies area to get this primary piece, and then you can move on and we just marry it into credit and you get a full degree upon, and you can work at the same time. So we're doing different measures. Of course, a lot of them here are tied with the state. There are a couple of more that I'll probably mention in the future, but they keep us on target, especially for things like this and NCCER that can build the economy, build a living wage for folks. So.
Yeah, that's a lot of opportunities for success for sure. Ellen, can I ask you the same question? Can you speak a little bit to I'm sorry, did I already ask you?
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm sorry, I was reverting back to you. Sorry, I apologize. Wesley, let me ask you on a student level, are you seeing trends on a student level of why students are choosing, your program over maybe another program?
Yes, the biggest thing is the students we have, the education we're offering them, the future they're getting. They're going back and telling their friends, their younger siblings, and the community in general. And we're getting a huge uptick in numbers. In my program alone, this semester, we had to up all the seats in every class and add seats. We had to add classes and bring in an instructor from a program next door to teach some of them because I'm only allowed to teach so many. And we're looking at adding a bunch of night classes for the program also because we have so many industries that want to send guys here at night while they're working during the day where they can get both. Because with the NCCER, with the curriculum we're teaching, it causes a big, huge explosion in knowledge in everybody. And they're knowing that, hey, if we go here, we can learn, we can, make good money, build a bright future. And it kind of just streamlines on down the road to everybody else wants to come.
That's got to be a great feeling to build a program where, you have to go steal chairs out of another classroom to,
Right.
Facilitate the students in yours. That's really got to be a great feeling. All right. Alan, let's go back to you for a second. What about your partnerships, your industry partnerships specifically that you talked about? How do those partnerships contribute to your enrollment growth?
So we are seeing quite a bit of enrollment growth in some areas through the work-based learning. And as we mentioned, we have a program that is outside the construction area, but we've embedded because of the hand tool requirements in an industrial maintenance program, we've actually embedded the NCCER core credential as part of that. And so we offer that in there. And that is a very popular program with manufacturers in our area to have students come in and they attend classes part-time and work for them part-time. And actually the relationship with one of the maintenance staff to try to produce a student that knew more about hand tools and students that had this knowledge as they came in prepared for robotics and that sort of thing, but didn't understand the basic hand tools that would be required in maintenance. The conversation that I had with this industry partner about how to solve that problem led to us embedding the NCCER core within that class. So that is just one example of how we've utilized that through other relationships. But as we look particularly the work-based learning, as we're focusing it within the construction industries, and as Wesley mentioned, the nighttime aspect or offering classes at night or offering classes in a schedule where people can work and attend and get the classes, that's something that we're exploring with our partners where we don't already have that in place. We have that in place in many of our programs now. Our electrical program is offered at night. Our welding program is offered at night. And so we have that partnership with industries that send students back to upskill, and the NCCER levels are a great progression to do that as credentials are earned and employees have a wage that increases on a increasing scale. That's just been an awesome thing for us to do and utilize.
Yeah, absolutely. Dr. Webb, would you be willing to share with us some of the graduation rates from these programs?
Yes, like I said, after every program, whether it's the HEO, electrical, or just core, we have a graduation for each one, and it's pretty exciting. I'll have to share some of the photos with you. However, the graduation rate for us has been phenomenal over the last year. we have seen where they start and the complete class finishes. We have classes anywhere from 15 people to 22 is our max for those classes. And we have 3 different training locations. The Lancaster training location has been open for about, I guess, 2 years. It's a renovated building that we established. And then we have our Bill J. Priest Center, which is downtown. But over the last year, we have had full graduation. We may have one person not complete. We do retest because we have a lot of grassroots folks, but the graduation rate right now is averaging around 95% of those completing. Now, as far as and you might not have asked me this, but the application to the job, we have an economic opportunity team, but we also partner with each of the nonprofits we work with, as I mentioned, like TechStop, RBCA. RBCA has an organization of members, and they work with their members to hire the students from the program, from the training program. So I may be jumping ahead, but on average, we have, completion is high, but on average, maintaining a job is about 75 to 80% of them getting into a job and keeping the job. And it's not easy, but we have job fairs, we have the economic opportunity, and this is just over the last year. And now that we're doing the prison education program even more, I've partnered with our LMI office, and they have built a Power BI format, which is part of PowerPoint, but the back of it is Excel, so that we can just input as we go. And we've begun an actual tracking process since last spring. So that's kind of where we sit, but it's not easy. I'll say. But we have
Dr. Webb, I know I don't need to tell you this, but those are impressive numbers that everyone, is probably extremely happy to hear.
Right, and it's due to the partnerships, though, because we have one also with United Way, Women in Construction. So it's a lot of work on on the part of our grant office too, and forming those partnerships.
Absolutely. Wesley, maybe I could ask you similar question, and Dr. Webb touched on it, but job placement after graduation. Can you tell us a little bit about the success you've had with that?
Yes, the job placement success is great. A lot of these companies, they'll hire one person, and then once that person goes out and knows how to use the hand tools, knows how to read a tape measure, and progresses through pretty quick, they want to come back and call us and, hey, we need 4 more, or we need 3 more. And we get those phone calls and those emails all the time, especially right here in the local industry. Between where I'm at and where Alan is, we've got a huge industry spot here in construction and manufacturing. So our placement rate, if the student wants to be placed, we can get him placed for the most part. I'm gonna say in the 90%. There's a few students that they'll go through the program and don't get placed for whatever reason. But our placement rate is very, very great.
Yeah, that's incredible. That's incredible to hear. So here's a question, and I'm going to give each one of you some time to answer, and because I know that the listeners will appreciate this. If one of our listeners right now either doesn't have a construction program or wants to improve their construction program, what advice would you give them getting started? And Dr. Webb, let's start with you.
Well, hopefully they're part of NCCER if they're interested in starting a program. I'd say that's the first thing, go to the accreditation process and the sponsor training, because the training was phenomenal, I have to say. And I came when it was face-to-face, and it is phenomenal. So it's a great start as a core to building your construction program and understanding it. Then I would say work with, the deans in the prospective area in which you're going to place your program, and base your curriculum around the NCCER curriculum, because it is a very good curriculum. But then, add other things in as far as hands-on. We add in speakers from different industries to come in and speak to the students about the potential, about the career in it. And I would also add a job readiness piece, because many of the students may not have worked in a professional environment, especially if they're 18 to 24, which we get a lot in that age range. But it's all about having the opportunity to ensure that, you have opportunities for the students once they leave your program, if they're going to go to a job or even work part-time and continue their education, it's important to have, I think Alan mentioned advisory board, and our advisory board is through that school of MIT. So we have that as well, but have resources for them, specialized training for them, use NCCER, and make sure that there are jobs in the area in which you're training and that there also is a livable wage. And one other thing that we're really starting to do, we have coaches that are assigned to each cohort class we have. So it's important to have some kind of advisor or coach to assist with your students in the program. And that's just many things in a nutshell that I fill out.
That is great advice, I think. Leslie, let's go to you.
Well, the first advice was get your curriculum set up. Find the curriculum. The NCCER curriculum is a great curriculum to go with. It's already wrote out for you. Everything's there. The test assessments, you don't have to build from scratch. The second thing is you got to make an advisory committee for that industry. You want to go and find companies that will represent the industry and that have the same goals as the school does. Once you find those companies, you got the curriculum, you sit down and you build out what you want the student to progress from start to finish. Once they graduate, these companies have buy-in because they helped you build the program. They will grab the students up and put them to work as soon as they can. So, from the curriculum to the advisory committee, get companies buy-in, and then go out into the community and sell it to the students at the high schools, other community college classes on the campus that they are not happy with. I had to go there. But once the community buys in, they will start coming and take the classes because the company's already bought in.
Yeah, I would definitely agree. All right, Alan, how about you?
Yeah, I would just offer some advice about the implementation. And I think Dr. Webb and Wesley have given very sound technical advice, but I would think about if I were an administrator considering NCCER, I think it is an excellent thing to choose as you move forward with this. I'm a person that, I try to present things to people where I start with the why, as Simon Sinek wrote in the book about, always start with the why. And I'll just offer a few things about that perhaps people might not think about, but with NCCER, with the standardization of the credentials and the ease of offering them in different areas, you can do a lot for underserved populations to train them in many areas and offer a very good livable wage. And because the credentials are becoming more and more recognized in all areas, but in our areas in particular, you're ensuring a person a good sustainable living wage because they have that recognized credential. I think back to being 17, 18 years old as a house framer, and I was only as good as the employer would pay me. And oftentimes that was dependent on how well I could market myself and how well I could present myself as to knowing the skills that were needed and the reputation that, went before me as a 20-something-year-old individual. I didn't have the paperwork and the credentials to be recognized. NCCER offers that. And so as you move forward to implement this in your college, those instructors that you're recruiting and having, make sure that you always instill why it's such a beneficial thing and so important. And I think it's important to provide plenty of training for your instructors and recognize that teaching, these topics and teaching these subjects with the NCCER curriculum is excellent and it's wonderful, but there will be a learning curve that comes along with, providing the theory and the hands-on and the skills validation and the performance part of it and the testing. And there's testing anxiety that, instructors will have to make sure that students overcome and those type of things, and really make sure that you work to provide that training and that the resources for instructors to make the program successful, because if done properly, it can be extremely successful and it can be something that is beneficial to your college and beneficial to your community.
Great advice. Great advice. Allie, I think we probably have time for one question before we run out of time. Do we have one question in the chat that we could ask?
Absolutely. Let me. So one of the questions is, we have a hard time finding instructors in our rural area. How do you find qualified instructors, and can NCCER assist with this?
All right. So Dr. Webb, let's start with you. Do you have any advice for finding an instructor?
Well, I think there's something on the website where you can kind of map out professionals in your area and SMEs who might be able to give you some answers to that. But you'd have to navigate the website, but I have seen it and also used it as a reference for an SME in the Dallas area, subject matter expert who may be able to refer you. But as far as recruitment, sometimes it's just word of mouth. In your community, if you have someone that you know works for a company who may be interested in teaching part-time, you can send them through the certification and accreditation as an NCCER instructor. Family member, even if they're already a journeyman or they have the experience, you can qualify them as an NCCER instructor. So I would say just do the grassroots work in finding them through some companies, organizations, builders, or whatever area you're interested in certifying through NCCER.
Great advice. Alan, can you tell us any best practices for finding instructors like Wesley?
Yeah, and we do have some rural areas in our service area, and I'm very thankful that Wesley is one of our full-time great instructors, and he does an outstanding job. And the things that we have found out with getting instructors, oftentimes our industry partnerships, as people look for second careers after retirement, part-time instructional opportunities are appealing to those that are in the construction industry, where we can offer training for those individuals. We do so, and that's something that we I think can go a long way towards streamlining the process, but it is often through relationships with our industry partners that we do gain opportunities to hire individuals to be instructors.
Great, thank you for that. So if you did have a question in the chat and we didn't get a chance to answer it, we will get that to our panelists and get you an answer to your question, or from an NCCER person if you have a question for NCCER. There's also a form inside the chat that you can fill out if you have any questions or want to make contact with NCCER or any of the panelists here. Unfortunately, with webinars, the one downside is I can't ask for a huge round of applause for my panelists, but they did an amazing job, and I want to thank all of them for taking their time out of their very busy schedules to share these best practices with the audience. And then I want to thank the audience for taking time out of their busy schedule to participate in this webinar. And with that, we are definitely at time, and so I will let you all go and have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you.